Hello, hope all is fantastic. Today we're going to talk about Egypt and how fun they are. In the olden times, of course, not nowadays. I don't think so. Anyway, let's get into some interesting things about ancient Egyptian lifestyles. Lice was so bad at that time frame, they just gave up on their hair. Most people shaved their heads in ancient Egyptian times. We know this from pictures and from records, written from people in other countries who looked at Egyptians' fashion choices, and puzzled over why Egyptians went to go bald style. Today, historians know why. Lice was everywhere in ancient Egyptian times. The tombs of ancient Egyptians were infested with lice, apparently flooding the remains of the dead bodies. Lovely if you're eating some pasta with some red tasty treats inside of it. Egyptians had lice remedies, of course, but they didn't work or weren't worth the hassle of doing so. Most people got so fed up with the situation that both men and women would shave their heads to get rid of the grossness of their hair. Many others also shave from head to toe because those pesky vermins are known to get everywhere. Catcalling isn't a new invention, of course. Women today might get frustrated with catcalling from every so many people walking to McDonald's or whatever have you. But that's nothing compared to women in ancient Egyptian times. A Greek historian, Herodotus, watched Egyptians get together for a religious festival. Men gathered their families together into boats, sailing toward the city of Bopus for a deeply spiritual and sacred ceremony. But going to sacred ceremony didn't stop the men from flashing girls on the way. According to the Greek historian, the men would cry aloud and jeer at the women, and pull up their garments, revealing their penal colony. Apparently, the men held onto the distant hope that a girl might get so excited, jump into the water and onto the boat for their penal view. I don't think binoculars were honed in during that time frame, so according to what size they had going on, then I guess it was according to their package. And if they're excited as well, uptick of things. Speaking of uptick of things, when Howard Carter first found King Tut, he discovered a wealth of treasures and relics like of any other historian event in history. The world was abuzz about the writings of these findings, but there was one little detail that was not shared. King Tut's mummy was buried with an erection. Nobody knows why King Tut's mummy had an erection. Maybe he was excited to go into the afterlife. The Egyptian ruler, for unknown reasons, had an erection. There are a lot of theories among this, such as being excited about being dead, or maybe he had a fantasy before slipping into the unknown. But according to one theory, the erection might not really be his. Some people think that his embalmers switched his real member with a more impressive donor. That must be quite embarrassing. Hopefully the donor was dead as well. Actually, that would be a quite interesting video. I'm not sure if they put a metal pipe in there or what. Egyptians had their own way of practicing Planned Parenthood. For the time of the amazing invention of condoms, Egyptians had an incredible interest in medicine. It didn't mean their methods were horribly disgusting either. Women had a few options for birth control, different mixtures for conception. Some of the nicer ones involved honey, thankfully, and smooth and creamy. Other ideas had tree leaves and crocodile dung. The women had to stick the interesting object into themselves, or else with 9 months, they would have pregnancy. Men weren't off the hook though. Male ideas of not trying to get anybody pregnant weren't much better. Men had to rub onion juice on their foreskin to make sure they didn't have kids. It's not clear how many people actually use these ideas, but given the choice, the ancient Egyptians had a strong argument for staying celibate. When a man died in Egypt, he was embalmed right away. Women, though, were a different matter. By law, the beautiful women were sent to embalmers for 3 to 4 days. This was because ancient Egyptians didn't trust the embalmers to keep their hands to themselves. This wasn't just paranoia. It was something that the Egyptians learned the hard way. An embalmer left in charge for mummifying a royal body was caught in the act by a co-worker. The co-worker ratted him out, and the Egyptians learned from their mistakes, and after that, Egyptian rulers didn't even trust their workers from the dead women. That is a sticky, gross situation. That's one thing why I want to be cremated, because I never know what's going to happen to my body. Most drawings of pharaohs showed them as thin, muscular types, but that can be farther from the truth. Pharaohs ordered their artists to show them more pretty and fit look. Of course, it was their ancient ways of Photoshop. But the fact of the matter was, royalty was obese during that time frame. They got a lot of food and goods. Egyptian rulers had terrible diets. Their priests ordered food banquets every day, which included wine, beef, and cake. They ate tons of saturated fat all day long, every day. I guess they didn't run up and down the Egyptian pyramid as much as they should have. Mummies were found with clogged arteries, bulging bellies, and massive fat folds. Obesity was a reality of ancient Egyptian pharaohs. They were so familiar with the fact of the matter was writing medical texts of the dangers of obesity as early as 1500 BC. Luckily, they didn't have McDonald's back then, otherwise it'd be quite different. They'd need bigger tombs, to say the least. Another fact of the matter, Egyptian royals were very concerned about overeating. They might have been fat, but they didn't mean that they wanted to be slim as well. So they did what they could to keep themselves thin, for that matter. Most Egyptians took laxatives at least 3 times a day. No crap. For their laxative, it was castor oil. And then after they took it, they sat on the toilet for the rest of the day. It was so popular during that time frame that they actually took laxatives for any disease that they may have. So if you have a cold, take a laxative. If you have a pain in your head, take a laxative. Oh, the good times of laxatives. Egyptian proctologists were called shepherds of the anus. Medicine was a major part of ancient Egyptian times. They made some incredible advances for any of that time frame. Like we do today, ancient Egyptians had optometrists, doctors, and so forth. They had also had dentists for their teeth. Also, they had proctologists, or shepherds of the anus. Proctologists had only come so far by a time, so the job of the shepherd of the anus most consisted of giving people enemas, again with that laxative. Proctologists who specialized, who knew exactly how to contact that area with medication, they got up the bulks, but didn't really have anything else with their time. Also, Egyptians were proud of their enemas. I'm surprised that if you look at some of the statues, they have an enema in their butt. Egyptians had a whole medical system for giving birth. They had ways to test fertility and pregnancy that were truly advanced for their time frame. To test fertility, some doctors would rub oil over the woman and tell her to lie down until morning. If she looked fresh and good, they ruled that she was fertile. If she didn't, she wasn't fertile. The science. Others did something a little bit weirder. A doctor would put a clove of garlic or an onion inside a woman's vagina. In the morning, he'd smell her breath. Ancient Egyptians believed their mouth was connected all the way through their body, so any foul smell would be meaning of something different. If the doctor could smell the garlic or the onion, it would be clear that the woman was fertile. Otherwise, if there was no stench, then the woman was not fertile. Ancient Egyptian was plagued with diseases and all that fun matter. In particular, it was infested with a big disease called schistosomiasis. I apologize about that. Nearly everyone there had it. It makes everybody sick with this matter, of course, and it makes blood in the stool and urine. Such a fun day. It was so common they didn't even realize it was a disease, just part of the fun day of peeing blood. Ancient Egyptians got this so often that they thought men were menstruating. They were very intelligent people as well. They accepted that men did this so often, more so than women, and they just thought it was a normal part of life. Even peeing blood was a good thing that they thought. They believed that a man who was peeing blood was more fertile, and it would be good luck. So what do you think of those Egyptian time fun stuff? Hopefully it wasn't too exhausting and too gross. Anyway, thanks. Thanks for all the subscribers. Bye.